What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice. Welcome back to another episode of the Facts Project. Today, second time on the program, Chris Moses from Red Sea Comics. If you're looking at me right here, Saturn Effect Alpha just came in this brilliant volume because we talked about that the last time. But today we are going to talk about Control-Z, his brand new sci-fi comic that he's basically putting out on Kickstarter. It's actually live right now. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, James. I appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Absolutely, man. Yo, I'm actually glad that you brought that copy in here because
we got it.
But first and foremost, who did the artwork in this book?
So this is Ricardo Secchi. He's honestly the best. He was this year's Mad Cave talent winner, talent search winner, and he's a really awesome artist from Italy. He was actually introduced to me through the artist for Alpha, Francesco Mazzoli, and he's just amazing. He's just so good at what he does. He's super skilled and he's the best. Yeah, I really appreciate him on it. And then the colors is Marcos Martins, who's a colors from Brazil, and he really just knows how to take Ricardo's art and his line work just to that next level. And they have that mainstream polish while still being just like indie and cool. And I think it really sort of brings the best parts of the 90s and really sort of reimagines it for the 2020s. It's over the top, but like in the best way possible, right? Like right. Maybe a character has a pouch or two, but like it's just because it's so much more badass, right? So shout outs to Ricardo. He's the man. He's did amazing work on this book, and we have 2 more amazing issues after this.
Yeah, to be honest, like I've been seeing a lot more from a lot of Italian illustrators, and it's all been dope to where I know a lot of people kind of like have swayed towards a lot of Brazilian artists recently. And of course, you got a good brother on colors right now. And the design that's basically put up for Control-Z, not only within the cover, but basically through the bylines and the graphics and all the panels that basically you showed me through the preview, I was like, shit, this all looks fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so good. And yeah, in Italy, there's just many great artists. There's so many great artists around the world. Really, just like Brazil's a great country to go to. Italy. These places in Southeast Asia maybe as well. There's just a lot of places where you can find talent now, and people are just getting so good. And if you have a pen and a paper, you can love really fast. People went to school for it, and they studied a long time. They spent some money, and they used a lot of their years to get to where they are, and it shows on the page. And Ricardo's one of those people that you can see the time and the effort and all the skill that he has to put into get what we get, and it's amazing. And when we see it, so
definitely
shout out to Ricardo once again.
Word. So not too far removed from this storyline here with Saturn Effect. Of course, You've given us sci-fi for what I'm going to say around like 8 books so far. Maybe I'm going to say even 10 with the introductions of the trilogy that you had with Saturn Effect. Now going into the sort of the cyber metaverse type world that you built with Control-Z. What exactly are you trying to speak on?
So the Saturn Effect is like a book about really big global issues, and this is the same thing that we do in Control-Z, but we're sort of we're hitting different sort of themes, right? Saturn Effect is about like bringing people together, teamwork, family, but also trauma and how we move past these things, and religion and all these other themes that are going on in the many different storylines that are coming together in the Saturn Effect Alpha, from the Saturn Effect Ajax, the Saturn Effect Helena, etc. Whereas Control-Z, while it does deal with more global, big humanity things, this is after humanity has migrated to a post-physical world. They migrate to a simulation called Cyberspace. It's also talking a lot about identity and memories and what it means to be you and what it means to be somebody else. And we sort of start to see that through the main character of Idolin, as she sees these memories in issues 1 and 2. and we're supposed to learn more about what it means to be a person when your body has been removed and you're just sort of memories and you're sort of just code. And
Right.
what happens if somebody maybe alters with that? Are you still you, or are you something now different? So it plays with a lot of these different themes, and so it's nice to use sci-fi to talk about these different things and create these different big worlds and different settings and place them in a way that's really interesting and fast paced. Like Control Z, this book is fast paced, where we
Mm.
start like at Mach 10 and we never stop, but we can still do that while exploring these bigger and more interesting, more deep ideas, and have a good time while doing it. And that's why I really love sci-fi. That's why I wrote Control Z. I do love sci-fi, and this is just the perfect sort of playground for some of these ideas. And I knew I wanted to do something when I saw Ricardo's art. He was going to do a variant for the Saturn Effect, which he did end up doing eventually, but not before we started working on Control Z. I knew that I wanted to do a book with him, and he's so amazing, and these artists, their time is precious and very valuable. So I knew I needed to pitch something that he would just needed to draw, and luckily, I hopefully did that, and he really enjoys drawing it. Hopefully, Ricardo, and it's really awesome to see and when it all come together, just into the final product that it has.
For sure. Now, when you're talking about humanity migrating to the cyberspace, like what essentially caused something like that?
You're gonna have to read the book and
Oh
find
man.
out. You're gonna have to read and find out. You've seen issue 1, and issue 2 builds on a little bit more, and then 3 and 4 you'll hopefully get as most of your answers.
Okay.
But who knows? There may also be room for a sequel. So
See that now. What would you say? Because of course, you now have this volume that's pretty much completed with Saturn Effect. Were there any elements that you used in the first story that you told and added them to Control Z?
yeah, I think I was able to. So everything that I've written, I've gotten better. So like you're sort of just like learning just what it takes to write a good story. So for the Saturn Effect Alpha, I was able to write a full, and we haven't gotten them all out yet, but I've written
Right.
all of the Saturn Effect Alpha. So I was able to get to that conclusion and learn, okay, this is what needs to be done to improve on the next one. So I've been able to take those processes, and like whether that be how I outline something or how I approach a script, and work on Control Z and make that as good as possible. And Control Z is also something that I've had written for a while. So I learned a lot from Control Z. Control Z is honestly probably the script where I feel like I learned the most,
Mm.
because I wrote issue 1. And I showed it to Ricardo, and we went from there. And finishing those other 3 issues was honestly a very difficult task. And I was like, how can I match issue 1? How can I keep this consistency for 3 issues? Whereas Alpha is 8 issues total. So I have a lot of runway and leeway to sort of, get where we get and where we go to. Whereas in the Control Z, it's only 4 issues. We only have so much time and so much space to get what needs to be done out there. So issues 2, 3, and 4 were kind of difficult, and so getting through those, I feel like I learned that I can crack any story, and was honestly a very big like confidence booster in like just the writing journey for me,
Mhm.
like being able to finish it. Because now once I finished Control Z, I was like, you know what, now I can finish any story there. I'm never
Right.
going to be roadblocked because I was able to finish this. So I learned a lot from Alpha, but and that laid the foundation for me to learn even more from Control Z.
Yeah, because if I remember it correctly from reading the first issue, you're almost speaking within the book from like almost 3 specific points of view, correct?
Yeah, we're there's a lot of different POVs in Control Z, but if you from reading Alpha, you know that we get like 4 to 5 to
Yeah.
6, sometimes even
Yeah.
7 POVs going on at one time. So it did train me a lot for what being able to juggle these different storylines. And now when I write things, I find it so much easier to have multiple very deep storylines than just one. Like if there's just one storyline, it's really hard for me to write. So I feel like now I need those interwinding storylines, and it's almost easier for me to think of these things now in that sort of way.
So within this story, how can you get lost in cyberspace, and why is there a counteraction towards that?
So I mean that's part of it. How would you go missing? How do you get Control-Z, as the Lowies say? That's part of the mystery of Cyberscape and Control-Z, and you're just gonna have to wait. All your questions will be answered by issue 4, and it's a short ride, so I don't want to give too much away because it's a short and really exciting ride, and hopefully everybody gets to enjoy it while you can, because once it's over, it's over,
It's true.
And that's just life. So but yes, it's a great to find out, my friend.
Okay. So the protagonist in the story. Now say her name again, because I don't want to mess that up.
Idolin.
So like, well, how would you describe basically her character and basically what her mission is in the story?
So Idolin is a sentry or a moderator for Cyberscape. And so that means they are tasked with keeping all the different servers in Cyberscape, the lowers where most people are that have very few permissions and they can't edit anything around them. Editing being the way that the power system, I guess, or the magic system you could equate it to in Control-Z, which means they can code anything into the simulation. So the sentries, being the sort of cops of this universe, are able to code whatever they want in. And so in a Green Lantern-esque sort of way, you see a lot of these characters' personalities from what they code in. In issue 1, we see Argus code in a sniper. And when we see the character Puma, he's always coding explosions when he's able to. Now, the lowers don't have the ability to edit, except for the characters of Puma, Mallard, and Badger. Exactly why you find out sort of theories in issue 1 and issue 2. More of that will be revealed. And so Dolan is trying to keep the peace in these different servers that are basically segregated or separated by wealth disparities, right? You have the most people that were able to get into Cyberscape being in the lowest position, and then you have the people at the very top who are in the top, and then you have the mids where a decent amount of people are in as well. And so these different servers need to be kept in check, and that's what the sentries do. But people are starting to go missing from Cyberscape, and so that's something that they have to figure out what the cause of that is, and that's something that Idolin is trying to figure out at the beginning of issue 1. People have been going missing for a little while now, and while that's happening, there's people that are running amok and causing havoc, and that being Puma and his crew.
So it's funny, exactly when you were talking about that, I was like, so classism is literally going to play like a big role in this entire saga. Basically, how the wealth gaps and the differentiated tiers of people, how they're structured.
Yes, definitely. So there's these big themes that are just at play. And even in the structure of Cyberscape, it's hard ingrained into it. Just those themes, just like how it's all built.
Now, if we're speaking of the villain that you basically brought up in this, and the antagonist role, you've chosen a very particular person in admin, and she is somebody. If you first see her on screen, she has no arms. She's all feet. She's seductive. She plays the role of somebody that you wouldn't particularly see as a villain, but yet she is.
Right. I really enjoy just like that sort of archetype, I guess. Just like the super, I don't know, it just seemed to work. And I definitely was on my Tarantino a little bit, but I
Mhm,
feel like that adds that little bit of sophistication, you know? It's like just like an aged wine or an aged cheese. It makes it just like a little bit better, you know?
mhm.
Um,
See,
it's just that like,
I got a lot of George
good.
Miller out of that. Like I got like a lot of George Miller out of that. Like basically your
Okay.
antagonist is somebody which is more like a physical manifestation of evil. But
Mhm.
yet in her case, you know, she's completely seductive. She of course operates in a certain manner that isn't too pleasant amongst the people that she's talking to, but yet she seems to know everything that's going on and she will get it done.
Right. Yeah, she's definitely has some tricks up her sleeve, even if her sleeves don't exist at the moment. Um
You
and
give yourself
yes,
your own pun.
yeah, yeah, she's a really fun character to write, and there's a lot more to her to be discovered in the next couple issues. And so,
Mhm.
like I said, there's a lot of different mechanisms going on all at once in Control Z, and that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed writing it. It's just a fun story, and it's got a lot to think about
Right.
and thought provoking. And yeah, I did choose her as a villain, and it's fun to who doesn't love a sexy villain, you know?
It's true.
um who doesn't like that, who
I
doesn't
mean,
like that femme fatale sort of
who,
that
why
vibe, you know?
why do James Bond movies keep making millions of dollars? Because generally either the foe is somebody completely doing a complete mind fuck on James Bond and the entire crew, or bet there's a seductress that's pretty much out there that's pulling all the strings.
Right,
Yeah.
right, it's definitely archetypal. But felt like that archetype fit well in this story, and it allows for just that touch of maybe sexuality that people just really gravitate towards in media, right? Like, why do people love Game of Thrones and things like that, right? It's just makes it a little bit more real, and it doesn't feel too gratuitous. I feel like it feels very natural in the story, because of it and how it was set up.
Right. And then in Saturn Effect, like you've actually played in the roles between like any type of couples that have a romantic outing. There might be sexuality, of course, brought into it. In this book, it's actually advertised in one of the variants that there is an NSFW cover with, of course, admin on the front. Now, is there a difference in point of view in actually like putting it into the story and then advertising for it?
So I think if I was to do the Saturn Effect Alpha again, I would probably put that closer to the forefront at least,
Mm.
because it's just sort of like how you play the game now. You know, if I used to see it as something that may be a detractor and make it harder to market, but the reality of the situation now on Kickstarter and things like that is those are one of the things that really sell, and that what makes your book even more marketable. So really there isn't too, I would even say the Saturn Effect Alpha may be more not safe for work than Control Z, if you were to put them side by side just by like what happens.
Right.
Even if it's something, even if like something maybe a little bit more pronounced with the admin in Control Z, there's definitely a lot of, you know, sex scenes and sort of scenes that are suggestive going on in Alpha. So really it's just a marketing strategy of, and a marketing idea and marketing philosophy of how to approach it, and so far it's working pretty well, I'd say. And I think
I would agree.
it's, yeah, I think there's something to it. So don't be surprised if the next campaign that we were on for the Saturn Effect Alpha number 5, which is coming next actually, and I think you'll be excited for that because fans of the Saturn Effect Helena and the Saturn Effect Ajax, worlds
Oh,
finally collide. Everything is coming together. So it's a really it's time, and this is the beginning of volume 2, which is the last volume of Alpha. So it'll be really fun to approach this with a new mindset after doing Control Z, and we'll see how it works, and we'll see how it does. But yeah, just to answer your question, it was just the philosophy of how I wanted to put it out, and it just seemed like the right play. to really maximize the product that you have. And that's part of like being a businessman and being an indie person. If you want to, sometimes you just have to listen to like what the market wants. And like, I don't have to compromise my vision. I'm just marketing my vision in a better way for the market, like for the people that I want to see it. And that's really what it is. And that's part of being a creative in 2023 now. It's, you have to be thinking about how you market things and how you can take your product to that next level just by how you put it out to the world.
Right. I'm going to say that like a lot of people suggestively do not look at the approach of taking their storylines and be like, okay, here's the trend, here's me, my storyline is this, but I can also weave myself into that trend as well.
Mm-hmm.
So right. It's only fitting.
Right, exactly. So and if you're not too far from the trend, that doesn't mean you can't use it's the Control-Z is definitely like a book for mature readers for sure. For sure. And that's part of it, but it's not necessarily something that needed to be marketed as such. And it's just when creators, when we're approaching these things, you have to be taking into account all the different ways that you can maximize what you got, you know. And because if you don't have any money, you can't make any books.
This is very true. Very true. Now back into the storyline a bit. When we're talking about how basically everybody is basically in sort of like this meta type of universe, and they're pretty much living off of human hosts. Am I correct in that?
You're gonna have, I don't want to answer too much.
Okay.
Too much for you. I don't want to say yes or no. I want you to find out on your own, because like I said, there's only a few issues, so there's not a lot of time to pontificate on it, you know.
Okay, and then outside of that, is there an AI element in this? Also, okay.
I can't. I wish I could answer you, but you're asking too many of the right questions for the story, you know. And sometimes, you know, that's just what happens when your readers are as smart as you hope they are, right? And
right.
There's a lot of that's just to say there's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of, it's very thought provoking, and
right.
I'm glad that it's generating this level of inquiry, because that's what we want from what we write, right? That's the good stuff.
Yeah, because the one thing I've always admired about a lot of sci-fi that also intertwines with the technology-based storylines is that you find that evolution, of course, happens a lot quicker, especially in the storyline. It can be a 2-hour movie, it can be a 5-issue comic book, it can be an entire novel. Like when you look at the storylines of maybe like a Blade Runner or The Matrix or anything like that, you see the evolution not only of the character, but of the actual technology just speeding through. And then all of a sudden, just somebody, it may not even be the antagonist, but somebody gets it. Or there's somebody that's, right, of course, using it in a corrupt manner because it's easily accessible, or somebody just got a little too smart.
Right.
Yeah. So I always saw that like in a lot of sci-fi storylines, it's like you could tell, of course, in the ways of basically the setting of the story, that the evolution, how it's going to be constructed, and then certain pivotal plot points being figured out, especially when there's multiple POVs in it, not only from the protagonist, but like basically some of the supporting characters, like when you talk about with Puma and the rest of his gang and everything like that. Certain people know what it is, they just haven't figured it out yet, and then somebody just actually gets it.
Right. And so everything will come together soon. And that's like what I want people to sort of be in the dark a little bit when you're reading it, because it'll add more value to the reread when you get to the end and you're like, oh, and then you're like, let me read that again one more time, and then it's just gonna hit all the different. It's just gonna be so good, and that's why Control-Z is gas. This is that top shelf comic book shit that you just need. This is just everything
for sure.
And that's what I want to write all the time, you know. That's why For a long time, I would say this was the best thing I've written. And it's still up there, but we've got some stuff in that's cooking that we can't really talk about too much.
Okay.
But between you and me, there may be a story that is reminiscent of Neon Genesis Evangelion and Stranger Things that may be coming out from a publisher that you may have heard of before.
Okay.
So we'll see. More of that will be coming hopefully very soon. But we've got a lot of stuff coming out. And Control Z is the first of many amazing things, hopefully, from Red Sea Comics and the like. And the next thing being Alpha 5, because volume 2 of Alpha is whew, but we're not here for that. We'll get to that. Control Z is where it's at right now.
Now, I know this past year, 2022, was pretty much your first time getting out and basically like starting to market the book face to face with a lot of customers through Comic Cons and everything. How was that experience for you?
Comic Cons were amazing. I went. My first con experience was at the very end of 2021, New York City Comic Con,
Yep.
and then after that, I did a couple more cons. One of them being Brooklyn Comic Con, and then I also didn't get to table at all these, but I also went to things like Emerald City Comic Con. I went to New York City Comic Con again this year. I've gone to places like CradleCon and other places that are on Long Island or in New York. So I was able to go out and shake some hands, meet some people, and really be part of the community. And cons are amazing. Cons are a really great time, and it's a time for you to really lock in your elevator pitch, because you're going to be calling people over, you're getting their attention, and you only have so much time to get them to take out their wallet and buy whatever you're selling. And that's such a fun thing to really see the points where, when you're pitching your story, where their eyes light up, because then it makes it even easier for the next one. Then you're like, okay, I know that most people are giving me some sort of reaction from this part of the pitch, but their eyes go blank at this part of the pitch. I'm going to cut that, get straight to this. I'm going to show them this page on the book that everybody stops at, and we're just going to go from there. And I'm just going to keep tweaking it until I have it down like this. And everyone that I'm getting over is not leaving without a book in their hand. And it's hard to get to that point, right? And it's not always going to be that way, but it's just a good time to really lock in what it means, like what you're doing, lock in your titles, lock in how you're going to market your titles. And you can bring that back to Kickstarter, because you'll see the things that like make people light up. And you're like, oh, when I compare it to, so I have a book, Soma City.
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
And so, yeah, Soma's awesome. And marketing Soma, when I show people it, people are like, okay, what is this? Is this a zombie thing? But then you say Osmosis Jones meets Black Sad, and then that's all you really need to say, and people are like, oh, Osmosis Jones, and that's it, and there's a sell.
Right.
So, and that's something that you wouldn't know how people reacted just by writing it on a piece of like online and them just seeing an advertisement. It's that in person, when you're seeing the full experience of what it's like, of seeing something for the first time and then finding out what it means and what it is, and then like seeing if that really interests you, and you're like, oh shit, that's cool, right? And then as a businessman, seeing that and being like, all right, I need to isolate that and figure out how to recreate that with as many people, because that's how you're going to eventually do this for a living, hopefully.
Definitely. Yo, that I can only hope for the best, especially when you start putting this book out in front of those cons. But next question. You recently teamed up with another indie creator and created your own YouTube channel. Super Comic.
I did.
Man, you and Anthony Stokes, man. I'm going to talk to him next week. What made y'all want to get this together?
Stokes is my boy. We've just been talking about making shit, and I've been saying I wanted to do a YouTube channel. He would start to do a little bit of YouTube, but it's a lot of work to do it on your own, and it was just felt like the right time. And we're always talking about comics, sending shit back and forth. So it just felt like it natural, you know. It was just like we got to do this. Super Comic Book Bro, let's lock it in and just get it done. And it's starting pretty well. It seems like we're off to a pretty decent start. Stokes actually just put out a video. He was talking about Velma. Everyone should go check that out. And I think it's our first 1,000 view video. So we're making moves, and hopefully we'll see where it goes, and hopefully we can just funnel it back into our books and, you know, Twitter and all those different places, and really sort of, you know, enrich our own community and build from there. And YouTube is just like the frontier that we hadn't either of us really ventured into enough, right? We're not using that platform to its fullest, and now we're trying to. So yeah, Super Comic Book Bros, me and Stokes, everyone should go check that out. We're actually stream on Tuesdays. We'll probably be hopping on that after this.
Absolutely, man. No, I'm happy for the both of you, man, especially the fact that I've gotten to speak to you guys, and you guys are, of course, extremely intricate in basically your comic book making. So the fact that you two actually get a chance to like have dialogue with each other on the YouTube channel and all it, and pretty much pushing it forward to where not only do you talk about comic books, but you talk about pop culture as well, makes it even more in hindsight. I'm a subscriber.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You should come on the show one day, dude. We can you know, we can talk, and we always need guests, and we appreciate you having us on your show.
Absolutely, man. And we could definitely make that happen. But I appreciate you doing this with me. If you could let everybody know basically that once they get their hands on Control-Z, and how long is the Kickstarter? And if once the Kickstarter ends, how can they get their hands on it?
All right, so there's 21 days left. We end February 8th. So there's not that much time. I mean, less than a month left to get your hands on Control-Z, not just #1, also #2. And there's a lot of stuff on there that's only going to be available on Kickstarter. We have a bunch of Kickstarter exclusive rewards, such as pages, original pages. Ricardo Secchi only did 6 original pages for Control-Z. Otherwise, everything else is digital. So there's only 6 of those. There's no more original covers. Those are all gone. I wish I could market those to you, but they're all gone. And so you got to go get them right now. Go get your hands on all the limited stuff. We also have Kickstarter exclusive variants, like the Not Safe for Work variant that James was talking about. That is a Kickstarter exclusive by Ricardo Ribaldo. We also have a Kickstarter exclusive by Tina Valentino and colored by James Affretti. And then also Francesco Mazzoli has a cover. He's got one. And he also had the original art up, but that's also gone. And wow, everyone just needs to back campaign, see my campaigns earlier, because these things are selling. They're flying off the shelves. And then also Andrea Scalmazzi gave us a really awesome cover with colors by Antonio Ramos, and the colors on Francesco Mazzoli's cover was Ilaria Fella. So anyway, yeah, we only have 21 days left. You can only get a lot of these things on Kickstarter. Otherwise, you can find me at redseacomics.com. Follow me at rchrismoses at Twitter. Find me on YouTube at Super Comic Book Bros, and then Red Sea Comics everywhere else. And James, I really appreciate you having me on, man.
Hey, man, anytime. So definitely 3 weeks left. That's Control-Z, KTRL-Z on Kickstarter right now. Chris, appreciate you doing this, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I look forward to hearing a lot more from what you guys got going on in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. So this is Chris Moses, James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and we are out.